I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting this morning. This is March 21st, 2023. It is 9 a.m. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda?
We will move A back to next week, I guess. Contractor's still working with the DOT to get software stuff done, so I don't have something for your approval on that yet. It's gonna happen, I think, so.
Okay. Move on to meet with department heads, elected officials. Krista Poggemiller, Health Department.
Good morning. We're keeping busy. We'll be participating in the Day of the Child this weekend at Westland Mall. It's from 12 to 4. It's something that's put on by the Community Action, and we have different things. The theme has to do with reading, and so we'll be giving away some books. So anyone, please stop by the public health table. We had the
What day is this?
Sunday, 12 to 4 at Westland Mall. We had the Board of Health meeting last week. We were talking about recently they are doing away with the public health emergency, and so they're no longer going to be requiring people who test for COVID, if they're positive, to report that. And so one of the things the Board of Health has worked on is doing wastewater surveillance. So that partnering with the wastewater here in Burlington and the State Hygienic Lab, they're sending those samples in. Last week it was fairly high. This week it is starting to come down. What that really tells us is the prevalence of COVID in the community. So again, encouraging everyone, it's the same mitigation strategies as before, good hand washing, staying home when they're sick. And we'll continue to monitor that. Like I said, it is starting to trend downward, and the way this works, it's usually 2 weeks ahead of what we're seeing in the community. So we should start seeing those numbers come down, because we have seen quite a bit of people coming in for testing, because we still do have test supplies at our office. So I think that, the State Hygienic Lab, where they pick up the box at our office, then bring it back and we send it in. So we are seeing a good traffic in our office as well for that. So also partnering with the Parks Department, Ryan Gorley and ADS, on putting sharps containers in the parks. I think that was something that was seen when the Danville Parks was taken over, that there was a lot of syringes, and this gives an opportunity for us to put a tool in the parks for people who, diabetics who are testing, or whatever way that the syringes end up in the parks. We're hoping that people will start using those sharps containers and minimize that. That was something that came out of the meeting with the opioid grants. And so.
Are you finding actual needles or caps?
Needles.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
impressive. Because I would think that most people on insulin are no longer using needles anymore. They kind of switched that over, so.
And it's not only for people with insulin, obviously, there's also people using the syringes for other reasons.
You gotta read between the lines on that.
Well.
Yeah.
That was my point.
We're going to the park.
It's just that- Right.
So, yes, and so excited with that. We're working on that project, hope to get those sharps containers up fairly soon. Want to really thank, like I said, the Parks Department and ADS has a grant that they can do that. And I know ADS is looking towards maybe even expanding that out into different areas. Again, trying to make the parks as safe as possible for people that use that.
This would probably be a question for Kevin and Lisa. Are they finding those showing out in the playground areas someplace? I mean, is this something parents should be aware of if they take their children to the park?
I think we all need to be vigilant. It's not a overly regular occurrence in like the playground areas. A lot of it is when you're gonna be near a parking area, an isolated area, that kind of place where a vehicle might pull up. But I think, I don't wanna tell people that they don't need to watch, but it's I still take my kids to the park, and I've never found one personally, never seen one, but it does happen randomly.
And it's not only kids, if you're walking your dogs in the park, maybe you let them off leash, during off hours, you never know what they might find. So it's just another way to kind of protect everyone, sometimes even those from themselves.
Thank you.
So, and then also working on, working with the different food pantries, and the Board of Health is working on some strategies for helping with food insecurity. We are also looking towards some staffing concerns that we've had. We've had some RNs that we've brought in the past, and right now healthcare is a difficult environment. There's a lot of needs for nurses and people in the healthcare field, and so we've been kind of challenged with that. So we're just trying to come up with different strategies to hopefully, bring more staffing into public health. I think that's kind of it.
That was it.
Yep.
Yep. That's my report.
That's your report?
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Killed
Nice
two birds
shot,
with
yeah.
with one stone. Bang, bang. All right. Ken Hyman, Still Region.
Good morning. Doing contract meetings this time of year. This week I've got contracts with First Resources and Hope Haven. And we're also taking the South Central Behavioral Health Region contracts and taking a look at those. Some of them overlap with our other, like First Resources has a contract with South Central Behavioral Health Region that we're gonna be merging with on July 1st. So we'll be talking with them about that, how to make one contract instead of two different contracts. I'd like to mention that the CIT training by Solution Point is next week, March 27th through the 31st. So we've got officers and first responders getting that training in Washington, Iowa, here in our region. And I have a brochure on that if anybody's interested in that information. I know that, like, the CDSs in my position are, even if we haven't signed up for it, we can go, they have a few extra seats where we can go sit in and watch what's going on with the CIT training. We may not be a participant like law enforcement is, but we can, and I've done that in Johnson County before, but we can do that here. And if any of you would want to have more information about what they're training on or want to sit in on that, I'm sure it'd be fine too.
What kind of training?
Oh, it's crisis intervention training.
Thank you.
So yes, it's Solution Point is doing the training for us, and
Do they have role playing? They're still doing role playing?
I believe so.
Is that a certain day?
I got their schedule. I'll give you their schedule, Tom, because I just got it. Sorry about that.
I thought maybe, okay.
Yeah. This is just kind of a thing that Sarah put out. I'll give you each a copy of this in case you want to know a little bit more. I only brought 4 of them, but
By role playing, I mean, they'll have somebody assume the role of someone with autism or schizophrenia, whatever, then the law enforcement officers or first responders will try to interact with that individual, so.
yeah, it's training law enforcement, like instead of using the command voice that law enforcement uses a lot, it's training them how to de-escalate a person who's really having mental health issues in other ways than that they were trained. Although they get 40 hours of training to be in law enforcement in the first place, but it's additional training to that.
Good deal. Got anything else, Ken?
I think that's it.
Oh, that was plenty, appreciate it. Lisa Schaefer, Attorney's Office.
We're busy. As the weather warms up, people get out more and they do more things they're not supposed to be doing. So that's making us all a little bit busier. As Krista mentioned earlier, we had our opioid funds meeting last week. Have some really good ideas about maybe some places to utilize that money. As she mentioned, the sharp boxes kind of came out of that in discussions of thinking of things to spend money on. We found out that other people already had money to do that. We've noticed that a lot. I think Kevin would agree that sometimes when we have this great idea, then we find out that somebody actually has the ability to do it outside of those funds.
Along those lines, I apologize for interrupting. If you've got your dog for a walk, or your child, or you're walking through the park, and you come across a hypodermic or a needle, should you pick it up, or should you call somebody?
Give us a
Call
call.
someone.
You should call the
Yeah.
police or the sheriff.
Yep,
or-
call law enforcement.
Okay, okay.
Because
Unfortunately,
you just
they're
never know where it's been.
Yes.
Well, and
Contamination.
that's,
Yeah.
I thought.
biological and the potential for narcotics being present. Just give
I
us a
suspect
call. and-
a lot of people wouldn't think of that, sure. Thank you, sorry.
So we've been working on that. One of the things we're working on over this next month before we meet in April is having all of the agencies get some baseline statistics. In fact, I just received ad statistics this morning, getting them from law enforcement, public health, of just seeing how prevalent our opioid issue is here based on what we see through public health, through treatment, through our office, through probation parole, and law enforcement and the various entities. So when we do decide how to spend the funds, as we're looking at them each year to see how these programs work, are they actually making a difference? So that's what we're gonna be working on for the next foreseeable future. Again, we've got three good ideas. We also know that hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll see what that second settlement will look like. There are different ranges for the various defendants and the length of time they'll be paying over. For instance, I believe Walmart's is payable over only 5 years. So those first 5 years of their pay, that's gonna seem a lot larger than the remaining years, and I think then they vary between 7 and 15 years after that. So we know we'll be getting funds probably for the next 15 years. It's going to fluctuate, and that's kind of some of what we've been thinking about. We don't wanna spend money that we have now and then come to find out we could have done something even bigger and better had we known what those other funds were gonna be. Also finished up last week, Sheriff Glendenning and Chief Denny from the Burlington Police Department. We've been working on what we call spot trainings. While we understand that the state continues to mandate training for law enforcement without actually giving them additional funds for that, training, some of those other trainings are a little bit harder to come by because budgets don't warrant for all of the overtime pay, et cetera, or they simply are understaffed and there's a risk of you're not gonna get everybody. What our office is starting to do is what we call spot trainings, where we go in at a shift change and do like a 15-minute training on a very specific issue that we're seeing. So for instance, the last one was on enhancements and the various rules for enhancing what would otherwise maybe be a simple misdemeanor into something more serious based on their prior record. I did the one over the sheriff's office last month, and then I finished up with the Burlington Police Department. Basically what we do is we go in, with Burlington, we go in at 7 a.m., 7 a.m., 7 and 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and directly do that with the officers in their briefing. You know, we did it with Kevin's office, we got by with one. We may make that 2, but again, it's when our office is seeing some things that just need a little bit of direct pinpoint training, we've been providing that. Hopefully that's something we want to continue to do about every other month. So we're working on that, and then tonight I'll be giving a presentation to the Burlington Police Department Citizens Police Academy. They always ask me to go in and kind of what happens once the person's been arrested and where they go from there. So that's what we're doing. We're staying really, really busy. And I do want to just note, I saw Rodney's email about the parking project. We may want to figure out what we want to do to advise the courts on where they tell their jurors to park. Because we have felony jury trial on April 4, where I know they're calling in more than they normally do. We're having another one on April 18th, and I think there are a couple of associate court trials in between there. So if employees are taking up the street parking because there's no parking lot, we're gonna have jurors who are just literally driving around and then they're late, and then our judge gets mad. So that may be something we need to think about is, if the library is amenable to everybody parking in their lot, or where these folks are gonna be parking. Because I know the April 4th trial, if it's the one that goes, they'll probably call in at least 100 jurors. Because it's a defendant who's a co-defendant of a case that we've already tried, won, and it was pretty well known at the time, so we have to bring in a whole lot more people, because more people know about it. And I anticipate that will be right in the middle of this project, so. Parking will be an issue, and I just didn't know if we could maybe get ahead of that to let the courts know, we encourage you to park here or in the city lot or wherever, because parking is gonna be, that particular week, especially that first day, will be a nightmare.
Shane, you're the diplomat, you want to call the library.
I'll call the library.
Yeah, in the library, I know there's also the city lot, but I know that's a little harder for people to get to and from because of the new
Construction.
building project. So.
Be sure it's only be some damn people.
Not that I think the library
That's it.
can hold 100 cars, but at least one.
I'll make sure I do that. I'll make sure I do that. Then they'll move for sure. They'll move. All right. You good, Lisa?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Janelle Nelly Lundquist, Treasurer's Office.
Good morning. We're keeping busy. Just a reminder that the property tax, second half property tax payment is due by, not this Friday, but next Friday, March 31st. Penalty will begin on that Saturday, April 1st. So keep them busy with collections and motor vehicle. It always gets busy at income tax return time, so we're busy.
All right. That's just the way we like it, right?
Yes.
All righty. Chris Lee, Conservation.
Our board work session tomorrow is gonna be a board meeting. We're gonna approve, just real quick, an archaeology contract. We gotta do an archaeology study on where we're gonna put the campground. Love shit though. But it's gonna be quicker to just go ahead and do the study than it is to fight them. As much as on principle, I would like to take this all the way to Washington DC. That's gonna be a months-long process, and I would just like to get this project moving. And then we got all sorts of events coming up. I get my calendar open here. That tomorrow, Wednesday, there's a bobwhite quail workshop, so anybody wants to learn how to manage their farm better for bobwhite quail. Pheasants Forever is hosting a informational meeting at the community building in Danville. You just go on our website and find out how to RSVP for that. March 25th, which is a Saturday, we're having an invasive species removal day at Stars Cave, so if anybody wants to come and help us, we've done a lot in there with our crews already, but we'd like to engage the public on this. We've got a lot of honeysuckle and this wicked invasive vine called Oriental Bittersweet. It's this vine that grows up on the trees and then it shades everything out underneath it. So we've been fighting that back. Somebody wants to get in on that, that's 10 o'clock on Saturday. And then our Hike a Park series starts on the 30th. We're gonna do a Hike a Park out at Luckinville Woods. And so out east of Mediapolis. So it's kind of halfway between Mediapolis and Highway 99. And so that one will be there, and then we have several others throughout the spring lined up. And then that is also the day for our Big Hollow Open House and Watershed Kickoff meeting. So our new, Soil and Water District's new watershed coordinator will be up there, and then we'll be highlighting our projects there at Big Hollow on the 30th, starting at 5 o'clock. Just go to our website to RSVP for that because there will be dinner. Otherwise, yeah, that's about it.
All right. Sounds good. Jerry Glassler, Land Use.
Morning. This has been pretty busy lately. We have a zoning commission meeting on Thursday evening for a multi-lot subdivision to go to the final plat, and we expect to, if that all goes well, expect that to be on the agenda for next week. We also have a minor subdivision. I just handed out the packet for that. That should probably be in a couple of weeks. It's another one of these situations we've got a lot of recently where there's one split as part of an auction to sell land in two separate pieces, and then one of the buyers decides later that they don't want the whole thing, and so there's another subdivision to split that piece off lately. So it's not the most efficient arrangement out there, but now the surveyors like the business from additional surveys. So that's been a lot of the ones we've been doing lately. So apart from that, I don't really have anything noteworthy. everybody, so.
All right, appreciate what you got. Thank you, Chair. Sheriff Kevin Glendon.
Good morning. We have our law enforcement testing this Saturday. We're starting that at 8 a.m. Have a handful of applicants we're hoping to find our next deputy out of. We have one open position coming up. We have 2 positions that are actually starting May 1st, and those are already scheduled to begin the academy. And this position would start after that, depending on if it's a certified position or not. If it's a non-certified, we have a August or September academy date, and then a certified, we could start right away. We have 1 certified applicant. So we'll see how that all goes. We'll have 2 deputies at the CIT training next week in Washington. And on the opioid discussions, we've had some really great discussions. There's a significant amount of money, and I think the hope is to make an impact, maybe not see this thing trail out over the payout period, and really the first several years be able to make that change here with the funds that are available. So hopefully we'll be coming back to you, gentlemen, with some great ideas to consider. Other than that, we're at 84 at the jail, which is improvement. We continue to see a little bit of improvement there. 3 will be going to Oakdale on Thursday, and maybe more. We still have some paperwork coming in from yesterday. And 9 are out of county, and 3 juveniles are out of county.
I talked to Big Pat somewhere and run onto him over there. And they've even get some of them with little mental health, you know, in there that it's hard for them to get out.
Yeah.
And so it's making an impact on our halfway houses with the mental health going in there.
Yeah, I'm sure getting them through the steps and the time that's allotted, and then finding additional placement, it is a struggle.
Yeah. So he was concerned about that. That's at the state level, they need to do something about it.
Yeah, it's certainly a community problem, and I think there's a lot of good intentions behind the community-based treatment. But the fact is there's a certain level of care that some of these people need, and we need to be able to provide it to them, and there's a lack of those intensive inpatient beds for those that need that level of care.
Exactly.
Colin Gerst, IT.
Just keeping busy like always, but I got nothing new to report this morning.
Sarah Marie, auditor.
Good morning. Not a whole lot going on, just business as usual. Nothing really new to report at this time.
Okay. And Brian Carter, County Roads.
We give his time to Lisa a while ago, so he don't get
So
it.
he used up quite quota.
Give us time, Lisa. Be quick about it.
I will be quick. Lisa and I communicated last night about this, so we're pre-planned. So it sounds like as long as the weather cooperates, we're gonna pour a bridge deck on Highway 99 this week, so that's good news. It's bounced all around though. If you look at the forecast, you can understand why. So possibly Thursday. However, I can just sit in here next week and saying we're doing it next week, just all because of forecast. You don't wanna get midway through a bridge deck and have it start raining. That's less than ideal. Bridgeport Road is moving right along. Went down and checked it out yesterday. They have removed all the pavement. They have cored almost everything out that they need to core out. So they're gonna start hauling some rock this week, again, forecast depending. And then they have some culverts to put in and some tile to put in. So it's coming along. We'll just see what the weather does and how that allows progress, but it's good to see that. We won't see paving down there till sometime in April. Just all the schedule will depend on how much the rain pushes the contractor out. Would mention that, and this is more DOT related, they are looking at times to schedule to put up beams on the overpasses on Mediapolis Road for the DOT's bypass part of their project. There will be a couple of days during that the Mediapolis Road will be closed. They're gonna do as much of it as possible off to the side, but obviously at some point they're gonna span the road with some beams, and so they will close for those time periods. Originally, it was supposed to be Thursday and Friday this week, and I was prepared to let the media know we're gonna do a press release and all that sort of stuff, and about 2 minutes ago, I got a text message and it said they may be holding off. So, again, I'm sure that's weather dependent also. They don't wanna get, the problem is you get those beams on those trucks down here and they're going somewhere, cause they're too long. It's not like you just park along the road somewhere and wait. So they tend to make sure they can get at least all 5 or 10 or whatever they're doing off of the trucks at the same time. And with the weather, sometimes this week is just an active weather pattern depending on when it starts. So when I know more, we'll do a press release and we'll let you know. If it's not this week, maybe it'll be next week, but it is coming and that will be a closure. It'll be a short-term closure. They were,
How short term, I was gonna ask you, how long do you think that would
they were hoping each day that it's closed, that it'd be less than 5 hours. They're hoping under that. It just depends on, let's just say they're doing one segment before they open it up. That's normally 5 beams, maybe 6 beams, depending on the size of the bridge. Of course, they have 2 bridges that they're building, and they're both ready for beams. So it just depends, honestly, depends on if they have any trucks break down on their way down to the site. They're normally coming, these are probably coming from northwest Iowa, if I had to guess. I don't think they're coming from Mount Pleasant. So that's the biggest issue, is do all the drivers get on the road and keep on the road and stay moving? And if they all show up in a timely manner, they could be done in 3 hours. There's a hiccup. We had one down here where it was the coldest day of the year, actually, and one of the trucks gelled up, and so they got 4 of them put up, and then they waited for a couple hours because it took a while to get that one here. So it's just random stuff like that. You're just not sure, but the contractor knows we want to keep it as short as possible. The DOT knows we want it as short as possible, and I think we'll do that. But just so you have a heads up that it will be closed. Won't be a detour because it's going to be so short. But there's Iowa City roads sitting there paved now, and the gypsum plant road's paved, so there is easy access to get around it. And there will be signs. We've been communicating with them about that. And then I sent off an email the other day asking the DOT about their schedules for the upcoming phases, whether it be the next phase, which is probably paving on that segment around Mediapolis, or even the grading phase. I've had a few people ask from that area up north to Newport Junction, which is the last phase that involves Des Moines County. And I must have piqued some interest because I think an hour after I sent the email, I got a call and an email. Neither one, I couldn't answer either one because of where I was at and being down at the courthouse for that pre-construction meeting yesterday for Rodney's project. But they wanted a Zoom call set up, so hopefully next week I'll be able to give you guys kind of a broad update on the DOT's scheduling, I guess, for their projects that they have going on. So other than that, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I'll spare you all the details because a lot of it's just kind of boring maintenance stuff that just has to be done. So.
All right. Well, let's move right along then.
Hey, Chairman, I think Rodney's on the call there as well.
Rodney, Mr. Bleasner, maintenance.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. As you've heard, we had a pre-construction meeting yesterday afternoon with the courthouse south parking lots. Unfortunately, with construction, there is no perfect time to do that. So it's going to be a little bit of an inconvenience, but the plan is the contractor wants to start on Monday. We wasn't really for sure on the timing until we had that meeting yesterday. So anyway, they want to start on Monday. They're talking approximately 3 weeks, but as we know, it could be 60 today and snowing tomorrow. So don't hold it to that 3-week time period, but that's kind of what they're hoping for, maybe best case scenario. The plan is to start on the bottom lot, work that, try and get that done, then move up to the top lot. But just everybody plan on both those lots not being open. We understand that parking is an issue anyway, even with those open. But we'll do our best to try and work around and see what we can do to help with things. I think one of the things we need to look at, we haven't had a lot of discussion with, but maybe thinking about unlocking the back door to the alley. So if there is a lot of people parking on 4th Street, and if people are utilizing, say, some of the library space or some of the area on that side, maybe they could come down, use the alley, and use the back door. We kind of did that when we had the front steps closed. It seemed to work okay for that time period. So I think that's something we'll probably be doing through this time period to kind of help alleviate some of the walking distance for some of the public during this time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Otherwise, we'll start next week. Also have an agenda item. Other than that, I think that's all I have at this time.
All right, appreciate it, Rodney, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Is that all we got? Okay, let's move right along. Gentlemen, any correspondence?
I had no.
All right, we'll move to discussion and vote. 5A's been pulled, which brings us to 5B, which is resolution 2023-013 to fix a date for public hearings on proposals to enter into general obligation county purpose loan agreements and to borrow money thereunder. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Des Moines County, Iowa, proposed to enter into a loan agreement, the Essential Purpose Loan Agreement, at a principal amount not to exceed $4,165,000 pursuant to the provisions of Section 331.402 for the Code of Iowa, for the purpose of paying the cost to the extent of, 1, the undertaking of the county jail roof repair project, $400,000. 2, undertaking the county jail facade repair project, $600,000. 3, acquiring insurance for county operations, $2,700,000. 4, acquiring the installing peace officer and emergency communications equipment, $15,000. And 5, improving, repairing equipment, 5 is improving, repairing, and equipping county public facilities and grounds, $450,000. The essential purpose projects, and it is necessary to fix a date of meeting of the board at which it is proposed to take action to enter into the essential purpose loan agreement and to give notice thereof as required by such law. Yeah, I think that's gonna cover it. I don't know if you guys,
Is there a general purpose loan agreement?
say that again?
Let me see that second.
Second paragraph there.
Wait, you want me to read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Read down to-
Those,
All
they're
three.
different, they're, sorry, they're just different types of loans.
Number 2, whereas the board also proposes to enter into a loan agreement, the general purpose loan agreement, number 1, in a principal amount not to exceed $60,000 pursuant to the provisions section 331.402, 441, and 442 of the Code of Iowa, for the purpose of acquiring a skid loader for use by the County Conservation Department. The general purpose project, number 1, and it is now necessary to fix a date of meeting of the board of which it is proposed to take action to enter into the general purpose loan agreement, number 1, and to give notice thereof as required by such law, including notice of the right to petition for an election on such proposal pursuant to the provisions of section 331.442 of the Code of Iowa. And then, whereas the board also proposes to enter in a loan agreement, the general purpose loan agreement number 2, together with the essential purpose loan agreement and the general purpose loan agreement number 1, the loan agreements, and a principal amount not to exceed $200,000 pursuant to the provisions of section 331.402, 441, and 442 of the Code of Iowa for the purpose of acquiring and equipping vehicles for the County Sheriff's Department, the general purpose project number 2, together with the essential purpose projects and the general purpose project number 1, the projects. And it is now necessary to fix a date of meeting of the board at which it is proposed to take action to enter into the general purpose loan agreement number 2, and to give notice thereof as required by such law, including notice of the right to petition for an election on such proposal pursuant to the provisions of section 331.442 of the Code of Iowa. So now therefore let it be resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Des Moines County, Iowa as follows. The board will meet on April 4th, 2023 at the Des Moines County Courthouse at 9:00 a.m., at which time and place hearings will be held and the proceedings will be instituted in action to enter into the loan agreements. I think that covers it.
So moved. Good job, Shane.
Second.
Moved and second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. I thought it was. I thought it was two, James. Sorry, Thomas, that goes with that too. Had a lot going with it. All right, brings us to 5C. Now we're down to the easy stuff. 5C is payroll reimbursement claims in the amount of $707.70, 70 cents, and $0 in non-cash taxable. May I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Five D, we have accounts payable claims in the amount of $845,508.76 in checks, zero in wire transfer payments. Again, the total would be $845,508.76. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Personnel actions, 5E. Okay, one for the sheriff, one for maintenance, one for IT, one for the auditor, and one for GIS. First one is for Corey Michael Whitaker. Retirement. Final rate of pay, $32.22, and the retirement date is as of 3/14/23.
Motion to approve with the thanks to Corey.
Second.
Moved in second.
Another thanks, Corey. He's been a good asset. Resource officer of Danville School, they missed him, and they didn't see him go. And we wish him to have better adventures in the future.
Possibly the only deputy sheriff that could sing.
Or willing to.
When we were up in Baltimore for emergency management, man, he was singing. That was my first taste of
Give him the mic.
Corey Whitaker. Bless his heart, man.
So he served us for over 20 years. He was a patrol deputy, a detective, and then a school resource officer for the last several years, and he will certainly be missed. But we wish him all the best in the future.
No doubt, no doubt. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yeah.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Next we have Gage Johnson, lead maintenance with the maintenance department. It's his anniversary. 36-month step increase. His previous rate was $38,934.74. His new rate is $39,713.41 as of March 23rd. Can I get a motion to approve?
Approved.
Second.
Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Next, we have Susan Poling with the auditor's office. She's fitting in quite well. She has 3 hours unpaid time as of for 3/10/23. That's what it's about.
Motion to approve.
Second that.
Moving second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Next, we have Jesse Miller with the IT department. He is a network administrator. It's the end of his probationary period as of 3/13/23, and that's what it is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. I don't see any change on his pay, but anyways.
There is no change.
I'm glad he's not a probie anymore. Good stuff. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Last but not least is Alexander Engel, both GIS technician with the GIS department, obviously. That is for 2.63 hours of unpaid for the date of 3/10/23.
Move approved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Five F is minutes for regular meeting on March 14th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep. Okay. Gentlemen, do we have any other business?
As both of you are aware, there are some serious issues with the provision of EMS services in some rural parts of the county. I think that, both of you, all the board members, will probably be getting contacted individually to discuss some of those issues in the coming weeks. So just sort of a heads up. That's all I have.
I do want to mention that in this meeting that we had with Public Health with Chris and them, the board's a little bit concerned about this vaping. So we need to step up our program and see what we're gonna do about the vaping. The health board is really for this, especially, around the county properties and that, so.
Yeah. It's getting bad. I see it all the time. I do. I see people, I was in the store the other day and I saw somebody walking down an aisle in the store and just hammering on it, man. I don't know what was in it, but it was a little square thing and man, they was going to town on it, man. It's like, I didn't know you could do that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't even know what's coming out of her mouth, but I mean, it's going into my space. Anyway, yeah, something's gotta be done. Committee reports. You already got your committee report.
Committee report, yep.
Thomas?
I attended a COBCO, the city county health insurance board meeting, mostly housekeeping issues. We seated a new representative from the unions, Dylan Beard, one of the sheriff's deputies. He didn't bring Tank with him, but we seated him anyway.
You don't get much done when Tank's around. Everybody's supposed to hang out with Tank, so.
That's all I have.
I have nothing. So with that, this is time for public input. We would love to hear from you, especially Thomas and James. They love it the most. So if you'd like to call in right now, you can do that at 319-753-8203, extension 4, or you could email us at board@dmcounty.com. We would love to hear from you, especially Thomas and James. They love that stuff. So you can call us again. We're going to give you 2 minutes. You can call in right now at 319-753-8203, extension 4, or again, you can always email us at board@dmcounty.com. So we're going to give you 2 minutes at this time. James, tell us something interesting.
Somebody took my parking place this morning.
It was not me.
Stand by for a lot of that.
It was the assessor, I think.
Yes, it
Trying to
was.
get used to the idea.
The assessor took my parking place this
Trying to
morning.
break you in? Is that what it was?
Right on the gas station,
think there's gonna be
I
a
left
scramble
Tom
at
out for him to get
$7.50 for all the parking spots, right?
So then, James took mine.
So how did it make you feel, Thomas? Tell us about it.
I took the assessors. The solution is right there.
The solution is right there.
I do
Oh,
want to
my
mention,
goodness.
thank you to Rodney and his team. I don't know, we got our new vaccine refrigerator and freezer about a week ago, and I don't know if anybody that walked by, they could see that the door had to be taken off, and it was quite the project for them to get those in there, so thank you so much for them and all their work they did on that.
I happened to be down at the courthouse that day, and I was going out to get my truck when they had that on an angle trying to get it through there, and they said, we could use some help. And I said, well, see you guys, I got the meeting. One of them make-believe meetings.
I appreciate your honesty with that, James.
Mrs. Broker might be listening.
Oh.
No, they did work hard on it, though, they really did.
They did a great job. They had to disassemble part of it, put it back together once they got it in, they took the door frame off. That was a lot of work. It barely fits, so.
Working real hard on that.
Hey, I just want to say real quick that I did get my first complaint dealing with the sheriff's department. We had to go down, I had to go down to the sheriff's department and deal with KG, and it was illuminating, and I just want to say, I appreciate the way that you're handling business. I've got full confidence in you, and I just like the way that you handle business. And we got the problem resolved, and everybody was satisfied at the end of it. I wish everything would go that smooth when somebody was complaining, but I just want to give you a shout out on that. Thanks for handling it the way you did.
Appreciate that. The goal is to be transparent, and if there's ways we can improve, we always will, and, but always willing to sit down and talk about things.
Of course, you know, it was amazing, them body cameras, how clear them are. I mean, it was unreal.
They've been very helpful in our correctional center and on the deputies. They're extremely helpful. And we can always go back and take a look at things.
Good. Appreciate that. Your 2 minutes is up, that's what that was.
2 minutes is up. So, James, do you have anything to say in closing?
I'm out of here.
You guys, Thomas, do you have anything to say in closing?
Aye.
With an eye, we're out. Thank you, everybody. You guys are such sweethearts. What is that? Close up.
Let me ask Tom something first, whether you want it or not.
That's great.